Hey everybody, I wanted to make a video about how to apply one texture to multiple parts. So I've got a forklift here. I just want to walk you around these parts and explain what I'm doing. Front wheels are attached to each other. I've already set the axis point around the center. Same thing with the rear wheels. And then this thing just moves up and down. I'll do an animated texture on the chain right here, and then maybe this piston I'll separate later and move. The steering wheel moves. If I go to local, it spins accurately. I didn't bother with these stick shifts. So let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts, okay? 6 parts. The question that you should be asking yourself is, what is the specularity? What is the surface properties of these parts? I see this seat, and this seat to me should have way different specularity in surface materials than, say, the metal. So I'm going to go into Polygon. I'm going to come over here to Polygon Material Ids. I'm going to set that to number 2. Everything is set to number 1 right now, and why don't I just do that to demonstrate? I'll just go to Polygons, Control A, and then set ID to 1. Okay? So I'll select this chair, and I'm going to set that to 2, and I'm going to remember that that's chair. The chair is 2. The steering wheel, well, that's going to be like a hard plastic. And so that should have a different specularity than the rusty metal. So we'll call that 3. And then the rubber on these wheels, everything is set to 1 right now, or I'll set that to 1. But then I'll select the outer rubber, the solid rubber right there, and we'll set that to 4. Same thing with this. Let's make sure that the whole thing is set to 1, but then the outer rubber is 4. Let's do that for this one too. All polys are 1, and then outer is 4. Okay, and then this part is metal. That'll be the same as number 1. Yep, already done. I could get really crazy. I could make the polygons on this mirror number 5. I can make the plastic on these flashing lights different. But for the most part, I'm just proving a point here. So I've got the hard rubber is different from this metal, is different from this plastic. And why don't we do this tank here? I'll make this number 5. Okay, so that's the plan. Let's go to the material editor. I can press M, same thing as pressing this button up here. I'm using the compact material editor. It defaults to the slate material editor, which is a lot like Hypershade in Maya. But I'll use the compact for this tutorial. And first thing I'm going to do is select an open slot, and I'm going to change this to multi-sub object. I'll discard the old material. And that comes up, it defaults to 10. I think I could make this a crazy number, but I don't want to. I just want to use 5 of them. And what I'm going to do is click on None, go here and make this a standard, and then go to Maps, diffuse color, turn it on, and then let's go to a bitmap, and here is the diffuse I painted for this forklift. Wait for that to catch up. It's like a 13 megabyte file, so it takes a second, and then I will apply it to the forklift. I'll go up a level, one more, and then apply. And it turned gray. I need to hit this, go down to the material and then turn on the checkerboard here. And because I set all of these polygons to 1, and just by coincidence this is material ID 1, it maps. It maps correctly. And you know, I've already laid out the UVs. So let's try to do number 2. What did I say number 2 was going to be? I think it's this chair. So let's come here to this, and instead of going through all those clicks again, what I can do is I can just drag this, and it's identical, and just do a copy. I don't want to do an instance, I want to do a copy. Now what's the difference, you might ask? So back here in number 1, I want to make this a metal with just a little bit of specularity. You can see I've got a little bit of sheen, and I'll tighten that up a little bit. So as I tumble around this thing, it's got a little bit of sheen on it. Let me hype that up a little. See how that pops? Now that doesn't look so good, but if I get a normal and a specular map on there, that'll look a lot better. Let me reduce that a little bit. Okay. Now that is the envelope, or the specular I'm going to use. It's a blend with just a little bit of spec and gloss. Let's go back up and go to number 2, and this is the plastic seat. So let's make that super hot, really hot, and you can see that is a lot better and a lot more believable than it was a second ago. And so the metal has its own sheen, and the plastic has its own sheen, its own specular properties. So I could certainly use a little bit of refinement on this. Okay, let's go up, and what else do I have? This tank, which I believe I said is number 5. So we'll come down here to 5. I'm going to drag this onto number 5, copy. Let's go into it and bring that down, widen it up. Let's make this anisotropic instead of blend. And so I'll change this to anisotropic. You see it's got a little bit different behavior there. Anisotropic basic parameters, and here is my specular components. So you can see how the dynamic lighting on that propane tank is different from the seat, is different from the metal on the sides here. Real quickly, let me get the steering wheel going. I think I called it, let's just double check, what did I call the steering wheel? That's number 3. I'll drag that onto here, copy, and let's reduce that. Actually that's pretty hot, so we'll increase that and tighten that up. Now let's do the wheels real quick. The wheels are a separate object. I would have to attach them for this to work, or just hit this assign material to selection. Assign material to selection, and it's reading it by virtue of the material IDs. So let's come back here, and I believe this is number 4. The outside is 4, the inside is 1. So let's drag this, copy, okay. The outside is that dull rubber, really, really dull. We want to flatten that way down and widen this out. And we'll apply that. This will look a lot better once it gets a normal and a spec map on there. And then same thing with this, same thing with that. Okay, so you've got 1 through 5, you've got different properties on different materials. I should probably make a number 6 and make this super reflective. I'll eventually get there. This would be just as reflective as that glass on there. But this is how you do it. This is multi-sub object. Okay, and now you can rig this thing and animate it, and it all points to the same texture. If we go click on this texture and have a look at it, it's all 1:1024. The rubber here will have a different specular component than the plastic seat, which will be different than the metal, which will be different than the glass and the rubber treads and the chrome. Okay, I hope that helps. I'd like to see you do that in your turrets and in your projects. If you have any questions, please ask. Thanks.